this is the original esport racing game. This is iRacing.
The Nissan and the Audi are cars that require courage and precision. The same could be said of Spa-Francorchamps. Both are throwbacks that harken to a time gone by in racing. Yet we get to enjoy the thrill and challenge of each of them combined here in the virtual world. The championship is closing in on its final stages, and the number of names in the list of potential champions are dwindling. We'll see who summons up that courage and gets back in the game as we get ready to watch round 10 of the iRacing Kamel GT series. And you'll see it all live here on the Global SimRacing channel and the iRacing Esports Network. Hi, I'm Joe Peak, and with me in the booth is Nick Schmeg. Behind the scenes is our director, the Dr. Hamz-Joachim, and he's using cameras provided by Ducky Beard. Nick, Spa's popularity never seems to wane. I'm not sure I've seen a season here on iRacing where it didn't show up in at least one series ever since it was released.
I think you're right there, Joe, and you said it best there in the intro. The thing that will separate the top finishers from the bottom today is going to be courage. Which drivers will have enough courage to outduel their competitors today at one of the most daunting tracks in the world, Circuit de Spa-Francorchamps? The 7-kilometer track here in the eastern part of Belgium has seen some of the most famous and historical events in motorsports, from the Belgian Grand Prix to the 24 Hours of Spa. Some Formula One drivers have called Eau Rouge one of the most beautiful turns in all of racing, not to mention the bravery that goes into that turn, as well as the others here at Spa like Blanchiment and La Source. It's difficult to remember before the race begins today that while Spa is one of the most terrifying tracks in the world, that the Kamel GT series showcases some of the bravest and most daring sim racers in the whole world. Before the drivers finish qualifying and grid up, let's take a look at the 19 turns the drivers are up against today as you join us down on the track for the GSRC lap guide.
All right, we've got Ryan Strodbeck in the GSRC Audi, so let's do a lap around Spa. La Source is going to be an excellent place to pass, but on the first lap, it can be a bit chaotic. Watch out for the over-under if you do attempt an overtake. It'll be extremely important to focus on getting to the power quickly out of this sharp hairpin. But now we plunge downhill towards Eau Rouge. Hold it off to the right and then aim to clatter across the curbing to the left. Get on the brakes at the bottom of the hill and use the compression for grip. Over Radillion, the car is gonna get light, but once again, managing to apply the throttle early will pay dividends down the way. The Kamel Straight is an uphill climb, and that makes every ounce of momentum you carry extremely important. Cars are likely to use their opponent's draft to try to overtake as well, so you need your head on a swivel. Into Lacombe, this is one of the most popular places to pass, but the switchback of the chicane leads to some gutsy defense moves. Granted, they don't always turn out great. Up through Malmedy, we're now at the highest point on the track. We immediately head back downhill into Ravage, which invites you to try and brake later than you should. Trust me when I say you should resist that urge. Understeer will be a problem for everyone around this bend. Try to keep the car off the right on exit to set up for no-name corner. I've always found it embarrassingly easy to drift wide here and rack up 1Xs. Now we come back down into the valley and race towards Pouan. The elevation keeps dropping all the way around this double apex corner. It takes a lot of patience in the Audi waiting to get back onto the throttle so that you know you'll stay on course. At the bottom, come back across to the left to line up for Fagnes. This medium speed chicane always feels like a compromise, and neither apex tends to feel like you got the most out of it. Still, it'll be easy to lose time here, so don't relax, because this is a track where you can't let your competitors gain an inch on you. Up next is Stavelot. This set of right-handers is extremely important to your lap time. The second apex is definitely much more important because, as you can see, it leads out onto the backstretch where you'll be on the throttle for a long time. At this point, you've made your bed and all you can do is minimize your steering inputs around the gentle curves. But with this being an older car, Blanchiment is definitely not flat out. That doesn't make it any easier to get it picture perfect, and a clean line will still pay off. Then we fly towards the last great place to snag a pass, into the bus stop. The four-wheel drive does allow you to get a little aggressive on the curbs, but you do still want as much rubber contacting the pavement as possible. Once you know you've got the grip available, get on that right pedal. Hopefully you've kept it all together and have now finished a lap around Spa.
You see a lap around Spa-Francorchamps. It takes a while in those Audis for them to clock them in. So since we've got time before we get times on the board for qualifying, let's glance at the championship standings, starting with the GTPs. Ardo Iamaki is still leading up there, and he's got a decent amount over Justin Albrecht. Fabian Gerber about 13 points back as well from Justin. Those two have swapped places for second and third. Same thing with John Keefe and Timu Toika, which are even closer, only 7 points between fourth and fifth. So even though the lead is a little bit a ways from second place, there's still some tight fights up at the top, and we've got 3 rounds left, so that can still change. Let's look at the GTP lights. Up at the top of those, it is still Martin Krejcik, and very similarly, about 35 points back, only 2 points difference between the pro and the amateur categories on first to second. Robanek is the one chasing there in this case, but no changes between all 5 drivers in the top 5 since last round. It is still Fonseca, Bell, and Sikora rounding out your top 5. Let's go over to the Audis. Nick, what's the update over there?
After last week at VIR, Antti Terho became the 10th different podium finisher in the Audis. But right now it is Milan Arnozzi, after another dominating win at Virginia, leading that, moving up, jumping Riley Thompson, who's going to fall back to 8 points back. Dennis Neidhart, a hard-fought 4th place last week. He moves up to 3rd, 27 points back, followed by Nicholas Mukanos, also on the move. And they all jumped Phil Lake, who sits there in 5th now, 44 points back. We also have the GTU standings, the amateur category in the Audis. That's currently being led here by Hideki Koivisto. Adam Lindgren following him. No change from last week before the race started. Matthew Jetse, Reed Miller, Michael Haynes going to be rounding out your top 5 in that category.
And of course, if you've never watched one of these races before, well, this one's going to be a little bit different today. Normally they have 40-minute races, but you can see their round 10 is going to be 60 minutes. This is their endurance format, which is appropriate here at Spa. That means you can expect 1 pit stop for fuel during this race from both classes. The setups are still open, though, which will be important to try and get them handling just right around these fast, sweeping corners. Now you can see a win is worth 25 points, all the way down to 20th place within class, giving you a single point and then none down there from that. If you've been watching this season, you've been seeing it on the iRacing Esports Network. We highly encourage you, if you haven't yet, to subscribe to IESN. Not only can you find vintage racing such as the Kamel series here, but also all sorts of official racing here on iRacing, as well as private leagues and the World Championship, one of which just started this week. Tuesday, we saw the Peak Series over at Daytona. That was a good one all the way down to the end. And, well, we expect that this is going to be a challenge for drivers, and one of the challenges that you might experience if you are a vehicle inspector, well, if you do independent vehicle inspection, there's a lot to keep track of. Whether it's an old school pile of paper documents or a computer full of spreadsheets, it can get overwhelming. But we have great news for you. Inspect-A-Ride is the fastest way to conduct your vehicle inspections and create reports. You can save time, eliminate paper, keep better inspection records, and simplify your life, all from your iPhone, iPad, or Android phone or tablet. You can find out more about this useful app at inspectoride.com/iRacing, where you can even download a free trial to find out if Inspect-A-Ride is right for you. So check it out. Once again, that address is inspectoride.com/iRacing. We're starting to get some drivers with their first lap in and starting in on their second. Up at the top of the Nissans, Fabian Gerber leading the way, which is typical. He's usually the one challenging Iamaki, but we've got Joni Hagner back and Antti Terho. It's a couple of Finns, it looks like, duking it out for the top of the Audis there, Nick.
Yeah, we have quite the packed house here today at Spa. It's great to see a lot of the big names returning after a couple of weeks off, and a lot of the newer guys we always love seeing in here, but great to have Joni Hagner back as well. He's sitting on top of the board. No surprise by half a second right now over Antti Terho, who raced last week and had to fight hard despite having that black stripe. with his resume, had to fight hard just to get a podium.
Absolutely. We've seen that it's not just that these drivers are specialists, but they're just darn good drivers. Terho, the black stripe, returns to see if he can get the top spot this time. And right now, Joni Hagner's beating him to the pole at least. Martin Krejcik, our leader in the AM Championship for the prototype, sits 9th overall. He's been having a fairly good season himself. So he's about halfway through what looks like his second lap. Yes, indeed, his first one, a 2:04.3. He gets bumped down to 10th as someone goes faster than him. Looks like we've got Caden Bean coming back from the Lotus 49s to try another old school car here in the Kamel series. Radar Anderson as well finds himself in 8th in that class. What it is close for 4th place in the GTO. Riley Thompson and Rob Olenek separated by 4 1,000ths of a second. And then they've got Ove Trangrade, another 9,000ths of a second back, sitting there in 6th. I think it is going to be a hard-fought battle to find their way onto the podium.
Yeah, these Audis are going to be really interesting to see. How many times have we brought up that name, Riley Thompson, this year? 6 podiums out of all the races so far this year, and hasn't been able to find the top step at the podium yet. Hasn't been able to find the win. Is Spa going to be his week? Is this the time when he's going to be able to utilize that backstretch draft here and make some moves and get up there? I don't know. We're going to have to see. It's going to be a very hard-fought battle in the Audis.
Indeed, and the battle for the pole has finished. The checkered flag is out, so let's go through your starting grid. Fabian Gerber, as we mentioned, put it up on top with a 2:01.7. Aru Yamaki following him about 3/10 back. That's a pretty big gap. Philly Rolla will be on row 2 in 3rd place with Timu Toika next to him in P4. Then it's Justin Albrecht starting in 5th today with Tobias Gerber, the brother of Fabian, back there in 6th. Caden Bean starts in 7th, followed by John Keefe in 8th. Radar Anderson will be P9, and top 10 is rounded out by Stephen Warkup. Martin Krejcik got shoved down further since we looked at him in qualifying. He'll be starting 11th. Fabian Jungbluth will be behind him in 12th. Then it's Clayton McLeod in 13th position with Heitor Sintez Galindo in 14th, Carlos Fonseca in 15th, and Hideki Koivisto 16th. A lot of drivers didn't get lap times in. Alan McCain, Ryan Lang, Tony Hayes, Chris Howard, and Lucas Silva down there in the Nissans. Let's go to the Audis.
It is, like you said, Joni Hagner on the pole in the Audis. It's going to be followed by Antti Terho, right to his outside, 0.6 of a second exactly. A big gap there from 1st to 2nd. 3rd place going to go to Nicholas Mukanos, followed by Riley Thompson and Rob Olenek rounding out that top 5. Ove Trangrade, John Malia, Dennis Neidhart, Reed Miller in the 23, and Lori Montevara in the 18. That will round out your top 10 in the Audis. They're going to be followed by Franco Scurry, Adam Lindgren, Sergey Serbin in the 26 car, Corey Fonseca going to be starting 35th overall, Florian Nadel and Juan Lopez in the 36 car, and then the 3 Audis with no qualifying times today. Starting at the rear are going to be J.W. Miller, Fabrizio Rafa, and Michael Haynes.
Big field out here today. We're looking at 37 cars, I believe it is, in the end. They get going behind the roof. Pace car going to be a rolling start. I was wrong at the end of the race last week. I said that they would be starting in the endurance format. This is the GP pits that they're doing. So La Source will in fact be the first corner, and that can cause problems, even though it is a rolling start. Hopefully everybody will manage to get through safely. So the pace car is going to peel off pretty soon here. They're already heading up towards the bus stop, that final chicane. They're going to be led by Fabian Gerber up there on the pole. Can Iamaki take yet another win? They have now been freed. It is under control of Fabian Gerber, and he does not wait at all. Green flag is out here for round 10 in the Kamel GT series. He gets a fantastic jump over the likes of Artem Iamaki. They're spreading out a little bit, but the accordion back together down into La Source, a little bit of 3 wide. Most of the cars managing to get through, not seeing any contact, and I think they're through safe. Let's go to the Audis.
Very clean start back here in the Audis. Joni Hagner jumped the gun. He's going to be followed by Antti Terho and Nicholas Mukanos. Everyone got through the source pretty cleanly, it looks like. as they come through that now. And so far, so good back here in the GTOs.
Already, the GTPs are coming up to Lacombe, and it's a battle for the lead. Fabian Gerber has to hold off Arto Iamaki, and Timo Toika finds himself battling on the podium, but can't quite squeeze through either. So your order in the GTP class is Gerber, Iamaki, Toika, Rolla, and Albrecht for your top 5, all starting to split themselves from the rest of the pack.
The battle right now in the Audis to look at is going to be for P4. Riley Thompson chasing Rob Olenek, and Rob Olenek just got around him as they head into Lacombe, and it's going to be very interesting to see that draft from the backstretch here. Going to play a huge part in the Audi race today.
Certainly expect a few trains to start to form in these blocky cars, but up at the front, I'm noticing that Terho and Hagner are starting to stretch a little bit of a gap on the rest of the cars. There you can see it on screen. Now, they aren't close to one another, but that could have an effect if they can get away. We've got an incident in the GTPs, Caden Bean falling down the order all the way to the back of the field. This looks like something happened in Fanyes.
Looks like you might have just locked it up, getting in there.
Oh, we blew an engine.
Yeah.
Going to see a puff of smoke. And that's the end of the day for the New Yorker. What a very short race. Disappointing.
Definitely a heartbreaker there for Caden Bean coming over from the Lotus series this morning.
There we can hear it from on board. Just a big bluey, and then he's done. Meanwhile, battle for the lead in the GTPs. Open it up once again. Iamaki's got a great run coming off of La Source. Fabian Gerber has no answer, but they hit Eau Rouge. Is there enough draft that he can use it to get back at him? He doesn't need it. He carries a lot of speed off of Radillion. He's going to try and get the spot back before one lap is even through behind them. Giving watch from the popcorn position. Timo Toika seeing if maybe he can use something out of this. Better on the brakes. Fabian Gerber gets up to the front. He is back into the lead. Momentary lapse there for him as Arto Iamaki is slotted back down into second.
How about that move there? We're going to see that a lot in the Nissans as well today. Going into Lacombe, there are huge runs coming out of Eau Rouge and Radillion and onto the backstretch there. And so you're going to be dealing with the big runs and the draft here. And Timo Toika had to sit back there and wait patiently very early to start making big moves like that.
Got a little bit of a battle between Thompson and Olenek happening once again down to the GTOs, and I think Olenek's going to be able to get it. A little bit of contact, though, as Thompson swings back around. Who is that behind them? That's John Malia trying to come through. Olenek loses out the most out of the three of them. Malia takes a peek on the inside of Ravage. Thompson says, no, you don't. But he looks like he has managed to get himself up into fourth. And we've got a GTP car off to the side of the road. That's Alan McCain in one of the Bushfink cars.
Alan McCain, that was a single car incident, just lost it going in there by himself, it looks like.
Yeah, the number 29 spun out of Ravage. Found the Armco, just a little bit of a tap. I'm not sure why he was stuck there for so long. Actually, he didn't even hit it on the initial spin. Meanwhile, we've got another problem. It's Krejcik down in the bus stop. Boy, drivers having a tough time around here. This turbo lag seems to be a little bit hairy in some of these corners.
Oh yeah, it is indeed. And I was worried about that chicane there in the last couple of turns there, especially in these Nissans going uphill and getting so slow and then getting back on the gas. It's going to be really hard for them. Quite possibly one of the most difficult turns of this whole track for the Nissans.
You know, I might have misdiagnosed it. That replay looked like it was the curb, and look at this for the lead once again. Iamaki denied. He's trying to get another win under his belt, but Fabian Gerber wants to reclaim a championship. The current champion is fighting back. Timo Toika giving watch. Justin Albrecht back and forth. Also starting to gain on these three. We could have a fierce fight for the top spot.
Iamaki coming off that second place finish last week at VIR. He doesn't want to finish second again. He really wants to get back in victory lane here, but what a fight he's going to have to put up to get around Gerber.
Gerber is not giving it up willingly. Look at how close our top 4 are. Now, it's very early in the race as Toika gets right on the back of Iamaki through Fanyes. Can't do anything with it, unfortunately. So these guys still have time to sort this out, even if they're having trouble making passes right now. In fact, the pit strategy could offer a chance to leapfrog someone. They all start to spread out now as they blast towards Blanchimont.
Pretty calm right now in the Audis. John Malia, how about him getting up in the top 5, though? He was under some pretty significant pressure from Rob Olenek, and I think Olenik's going to get a run on him here and be able to get back to his bumper.
Indeed, as they work their way through Puhan, he's lining them up. Unfortunately, not quite close enough for anything into Fanyes. Remember, Olenek just lost a bunch of places where he was ahead of Thompson and Malia. He's managed to dispose of Neidhart, but Malia is proving a tough nut to crack. He's rocked up to that rear spoiler. Maybe a good exit off of Stavilo could do the trick. Gets himself a decent run. Track weaves back and forth. Speed picking up. Slipstream getting bigger in these cars, but can he withstand the wake? Heading through Blanchimont. It's looking pretty good. Oh, a little wide for both cars. Down into the bus stop. Not sure if he's going to have a chance, but he's very deep on the brakes. Here comes Olenek down to the inside of the first apex, and I think he's got that one done.
Olenek, the New Englander, getting around Malia, the New Yorker, there in the chicane and back on the power very quickly. He's going to be chasing Riley Thompson now for that next position.
Almost made it look easy. So John Malia has got to certainly work on his brake marker there down into that final chicane. Meanwhile, we've been having some back and forth between John Keefe and Vili Rolla. This is for 5th place in GTP. Rolla and he have swapped positions, I think twice at least now, since we've checked in. And you can see he's very much giving chase on the Hoosier. As they come out through Stavilo, we look through the 007 cam, back on the fin.
This is definitely a highly contested position. Back and forth they went that last lap, like you said, twice at least. And Ruola trying to get that spot back now from John Keefe. He's got to run, but we've seen this is just such a hairy part of the track to be making moves. He's going to cross them over here, go back to the inside.
Tried to duke him out, and as they get down to the apex, a little bit of curb keeps Rolla from getting back on the power. Switch back, maybe. He gets the run off the corner. They're coming up to La Source. Another opportunity offered here in this hairpin. He looks to the inside, ducks back to the racing line. Behind them, that's Radar Anderson starting to close in. Both of them applying the throttle off the corner, and it's still John Keefe denying Rolla a chance at 5th.
Yeah, Radar Anderson got really close there, coming up on them through the chicane. And I don't know if he's going to be able to get too much of a run on him here, but how about Rolla right now? What will he be able to do with the draft? Where will he go? And what line will Keefe take? It looks like Keefe's going to hold it to the left. That's going to allow Rolla to the inside. He's going to have that spot for now.
Much more confident on the brakes, and we've had a change for the... No, we haven't had a change for the lead, but we had an attempt once again. Iamaki trying and trying, but nothing seems to work. Let's ride on board with the Finn. Gerber up ahead is the car that you see. He takes the defensive move, holds to the inside as they come to Lacombe, and once again, Porti Mutoika stuck behind both of them. A little bit better. Whoa, almost a little bit of contact down to that corner.
That was close, and Toika has got to be liking where he's sitting right now, because if they keep racing hard, something is going to happen. A little more significant contact is going to happen, but he's got to be careful too, because he doesn't want to get caught up in anything.
Yeah, Fat Timu certainly seems to be biding his time, but now they've caught some traffic. This is the back of the GTO field that they're coming up on. Includes the likes of Michael Haynes up next. They're going to squeeze by just before Blanchimont. Poor Haynes is put way out. Wow! Can we get an onboard with Justin Albrecht just behind them, because Corey Fonseca, he almost got taken out. Now watch this. This is really pushing the issue with the Buckeye.
This track is really wide, but it looks deceiving. That is close.
Oh my goodness. I think Fonseca was not expecting that, because you saw how much that Albrecht climbed up onto the curb, but both of them made it through. There's only so many times you can get away with that. 10 minutes into this race, and we've already had our hearts in our throats a number of times. All right, Ardo Iamaki comes onto the Kamel Straight. This is where he's been strong before. I'm starting to wonder, maybe Iamaki has a little bit lower downforce as he pokes his nose to the inside once again.
Quite possibly. That might be definitely helping him on the straightaway and in the draft to get around him, but he can't seem to quite can't seem to quite get the runs in that third sector of the course. And I was just saying there, this track through that third sector seems really wide, but at the same time, you really don't want to be side by side through there. There's just no grip besides the single line of the groove here.
On board with Toika, watching the two of them. This must be something with Bushfink that I'm seeing. Come back, Will something? I'm not sure. Williams? It's an inside joke I'm hearing. Whoa, as things get tight with another one of our Audis, and that's finally going to allow Ardo Iamaki to get up to the lead. Keeps his momentum up, working his way around Florian Needle. Let's watch this replay. Gerber just having to check up, not expecting which way he's gonna pick. And almost the same thing happened to Iamaki there, but he uses it to better effect. So your positions now, Iamaki leading Gerber second, Toika still sitting back in third, all very close together, but Gerber's coming back at him out of Blanchimont. Down into the bus stop once again, much better on the brakes, takes it the wide way around. They almost come together, and still he manages to deny Ardo Iamaki even after he fully gets past.
And we're only 13 minutes into this race. These guys are battling like it's the last lap, every lap, and this has allowed Justin Albrecht to really close that gap and join this battle up here.
This is fantastic stuff here in the Kamel Series. If this is your first time watching, I'm glad you've joined us, because this is incredible. Yet another run from the Finn. Gerber still holding that right side. He loves to defend down into Lacombe. It's been working well so far. In fact, he's trying to pinch him in, but it doesn't quite work. The Audi stays as far left as possible. This time, he's better on the brakes. Ardo Iamaki trying to hold it here through Lacombe, now through Malmedy. He's got to go the long way around. They finally come together. He gets spun around. Toika tries to go to the side. He tips Gerber. Toika is through. Albrecht is through. We have a change for the lead. Oh my goodness.
A chain reaction. I thought it was just going to be Iamaki getting spun, but no, he came back and clipped Gerber, and then Gerber came back, and there was Justin Albrecht. 3 good cars taken out here early.
In fact, Albrecht got some damage from that. He got into the back of Toika pretty hard. So is this going to allow John Keefe to start to close? Is there enough damage on all 4 cars that he'll have the pace to reach them? Oof, that was a hard shove.
Ugh.
Let's watch from Toika's view. He sees the action happen. He's trying to give them as much space as possible here, Nick.
Yeah, and that Audi was J.W. Miller, and he did absolutely nothing wrong. He did everything textbook perfectly there to get out of the way. Just 4 Nissans battling for the lead to try to get around him. And in one of the tightest parts of the track, that's what happens.
I tell you who this has helped the most. Vili Rola is now up into second. He just managed to get by Iamaki and Albrecht. You can see the Finn. And it looks like Albrecht's going to come on in and take some damage repairs, as well as what I expect will be his scheduled stop. That moves Gerber down to 4th. Keefe is up to 5th through that. All this action in the Nissans, we haven't had much time at all to check in on the Audis.
You mentioned there Albrecht coming into the pits. I think he's going to get a nose job on that car. There's nothing left to that front end, but Joni Hagner still leading here in the Audis, and it's quite a significant gap. 6 seconds right now over Antti Terho, and then further back, Riley Thompson sitting up in 3rd. He was able to hold off Rob Olenek earlier when we were watching all of those Nissans battle.
Riley's got to be wondering, what's it got to take to get a win in this series again? He's got pace here, but it's just when you're up against the likes of Hagner and Terho, you got to bring your A game. And his A game looks to be lacking just a little bit today, at least here around Spa. Closest fight that we've really got in the Audis is behind them. It's Olenek, who still hasn't run down Thompson ever since he got past, but he's ahead of his teammate now. Nick Mukanos is behind him in 5th.
P7 in the Audi is also good. Dennis Neidhart holding off Ove Trangerade right now.
Oh, and we've got a pass for second place in the GTPs. Ardo Yamaki just overtook Ruola and moved himself back up. So despite being spun around, he's recovered. His car doesn't seem too damaged based on the pace that he's got.
Yeah, not at all. I don't think he's too damaged at all. Just maybe a little bit on that quarter panel when he got tipped there, but I don't see anything other than that.
Riding on board of the Finn here on the replay. Makes it look easy past the white car of Ruola. Ruola's trying to come back at him right now, though. It's Finn versus Finn. Actually, it's all Finns on the podium right now because Toika's leading. Only John Keefe could potentially interrupt this. He's sitting back and forth, not too far behind. There you can see him on screen, the red and white car in the background. Fabian Gerber must have had some damage as well. He's elected to take his stop. Looking at the car, don't see too much from the front. Yeah. Oh, maybe on the left side. Yeah, there you see it.
Oh, yeah.
Oh. Yeah, he's definitely got to get that thing fixed up a little bit, unfortunately. Krejcik joins him in the pits, so we're starting to see things kick off at Hideki Koivisto as well. Takes what we believe should be a scheduled pit stop.
Yeah, that incident came at a time where that really did fall in line decently for the scheduled stops those drivers had to take. The problem is that they're going to have to get those damage repairs and cost them time as well.
Look at this traffic jam on screen. That's Reed Miller and Lori Montevada in a battle for position while they've got the likes of Iamaki and Ruola trying to squeeze through. That unfortunately separates the Audis. And that's going to give Miller 9th, Montevada 10th.
It's allowing for John Keefe to close in. He's going to have to do it the hard way on the outside, and he's actually going to get spun there.
Oof. Always tricky with these Audis. Cars like to understeer, and he tried his best. I mean, I don't blame him for picking the right side because that seemed the more open area.
Yeah, there's so little grip out there, and Reed Miller, these Audis they wash up just a little bit through there, the heavier cars, of course, and we were wondering if John Keefe was going to be able to fight up through the field. He started 8th, and that incident put him up to 4th, and that is going to definitely set him back.
Yeah, in fact, he's back down to 8th, watching from the Canadians' view on the Hoosier. Almost looked like a little bit of net code as well, so he did give him space. They just, unfortunately, were considered to be coming together by the iRacing service. And more action! Who is that in the background? Franco Scurry. These guys cannot get away from the action. That was once again the likes of, I believe, Ruola. No, that was Clayton McLeod, actually. And Radar Anderson amongst Reed Miller and Montevada through the bus stop. John Keefe and all of that, because of his off track, has elected to take his stop.
Yeah, that's a battle for 6th, it looks like, in the prototypes that was breaking up. Clayton McLeod holding off Radar Anderson there for 6th, and further up was Stephen Warcup, who got through there.
Indeed, Warcup, he started 10th.
Yeah.
And wow, ahead of him, Fabian Youngblood started 12th. They're 5th and 6th respectively. What a climb.
Yeah, Youngblood's had a quiet day, and we see him drive prototypes a lot on iRacing. Not so much these older prototypes. He's more adapted to the modern prototypes, but he's definitely showing us that he can do it here in these older Nissans today.
So John Keefe has gotten back out, but he is not our highest pitter. That is Justin Albrecht right now. He's sitting in 11th. Whoa, as we've got more traffic for Stephen Warkup. Let's watch him try to navigate all this. This is the likes of Mukanos, Olenek, Malia, and Neidhart all bunched up together. He's to pick and choose his way through. And now they've got a battle for position coming up behind them. That's McLeod and Radar Anderson, who are trying their best to use these cars as a pick without causing any damage to the Audis themselves.
Anderson's got a run. It looks like he just has nowhere to go. All these Audis making it single lane for the Nissans to get by.
Indeed, they had to tuck to the inside of Malia through Blanchemont. Now they're going to have to do it once again through the bus stop. Well, they're going to get by once they get the power down off the corner, but certainly slowing all three of these cars up, giving a big old gap to Nick Mukanos at the front of this GTO field.
Antti Terho, our next driver in the pits. He's one of our Audis. Looks like that's a scheduled stop for him.
Ooh, let's stay on Olenek and Malia, because this looks like things might erupt here. They're coming very closely through through Eau Rouge, Nova Radillion. Malia unfortunately had to back out of it slightly as he got really close to the rear of Olenek. But look at the slipstream. Help him. Gaining up the Kamel straight. Is he going to run out of room, though? He's going to poke his nose in anyways. Defensive move from Mukanos, the teammate from Olenek. He breaks deep, tries to go past him, comes back to the racing line, denies John Malia. They're all going to stay in order, but just barely.
Olenek had a big check up there as he had to get back to the racing line to allow Olenek in, and that's Alan McCain. You see the slower Nissan as they get by right now, but that really stacked things up a little bit. Gapped Malia, or gapped Neidhart back there in Malia.
Yeah, with all the action we've had in the Nissans, we've barely gotten to watch this nice little fight that we've got in the GTO field. Down through Puhon they go. This is all for third place right now. Now, that doesn't take into account that we've had Terho already take his pit stop. We've got a Nissan squeezing through yet again. Chris Howard trying to find a way by along with Alan McCain.
And Dennis Neidhart stuck behind Alan McCain right now. He was battling right up there next to John Malia, but that Nissan in the way, the 29 car of Alan McCain. And that really did not go over well with Neidhart. That really pushed him back. As now he's got Fonseca coming through.
Yeah. Up at the top of your screen, you can see Artur Iamaki just set the fastest lap. So he's trying to get back to Toika, who is in the lead by some 10 seconds. We're almost halfway through this 60-minute race today. Ooh, we might want to go back to Mukanos. He had a compromised exit with McCain coming through, and Olenek is behind him. Seeing if he could take advantage. Looking down to the apex of La Source. He had the room, but didn't have the grip. As now they plunge down towards Eau Rouge. And they're going to have to deal with the likes of Fonseca. He's going to stay patiently behind them. Look for the run off of Radillion potentially here. Because it goes all the way around. Nope, and he's going to have the track blocked because they're going to go side by side. The teammates dueling for second place, for third place rather. Down the Kamel straight. Olenek almost going off course. He gets deep onto the brakes, down into Lacombe.
Oh! Contact behind with Neidhart.
Indeed. They stay in the same position behind them, but now it is Olenek up to third, leading Mukanos.
How about Fonseca there? He tried to, I think, go in the middle maybe, but at that point he just didn't get a run because he was off the gas so much on the stretch there because of the blocked track with Mukanos and Olenek battling side by side in front of him, and now he's still stuck behind him.
Yeah, Fonseca's really got to be given a lot of credit here. He sees the battle happening. He knows that he's going to compromise them. He's trying his best to be as polite as possible. Now he's finally through. He did an amazing job with that, but boy, it cost him a lot of time on the track.
And now that he's out of the way, Olenek going to go right back to holding off Mukanos here. Mukanos, what kind of run can he get through these turns here?
And in all of that, despite having to deal with the GTP car, they've been stretching away from Malia and Neidhart. They've got themselves a nice little 1.2 second gap. We ride on board with Mukanos coming through Blanchimont. The slipstream is bringing him in. Is this going to be enough for a dive down into the bus stop? I'd say he's pretty far back, though.
Yeah, just a little bit too far back there. He got a good run at the last second, but not enough, not nearly enough. As they go through the chicane now and back onto the front stretch, and looks like Olenek got down the power a lot better there than Mukanos. He's going to stretch away a little bit heading into the source.
Yeah, Olenek probably a little bit upset about losing positions earlier on in this race. And this podium probably won't stay with him, as Terho should take the spot back. Still 33 minutes left to go on the clock. So what is Mukanos going to do up and over the hill of Radillion? Decent run. But is this close enough? I don't know. He's starting to gain a little bit, but I think he's going to run out of track. And they have more company behind them. Ryan Lang is now working his way through. He's already passed the likes of Malia and Neidhart.
Don't forget these guys up here, Olenek and Mukanos, teammates as well, so I really don't expect them to be pushing the envelope too much right now. Just trying to work together, I think, and break away from these guys behind them.
I almost think they're having too much fun to worry about that.
And just as he said, Ryan Lang going to come up here and play with them. John Keefe following him. Ryan Lang going to gap him right now. Keefe comes through as well. Oh, and a little bit of a crossover as they're going to duck back down to the inside.
This will compromise Olenek a little bit, at least on the first apex, but you could see Mukanos can't do anything with it himself. As they get through, both battles for position can continue. As this has happened, Ardo Iamaki takes his scheduled stop from second place.
He has indeed. Iamaki is in. He's our next pitter in the Nissans. Is up on the jacks, just got down, and he should be away.
On screen, you saw the pass for position. Keefe moves into the top 10, past the likes of Ryan Lang. Already, Iamaki is out back on track. He returns in P7. He was about 8 seconds to 9 seconds behind Toika when he took his stop. Looks like Olenek is going to come in. His teammate does not, so split strategy over there. Wagner has taken his stop and he's already out of his box. That was our leader. So what's Terho got? Remember, Terho pitted a long time ago. He's coming through the bus stop now. Wagner is already out and gone. Not even close between them.
Yeah, Terho not nearly as far up there as I expected after these pit stops. I wonder if he ran into some trouble or a little bit of traffic. Looks like he might have a little bit of front end damage, so I wouldn't be surprised if he did get into someone.
And we had another car that got front end damage. Chris Howard coming out of Rivage, a single car incident. Found the Armco. Like he's got a little bit of damage on the rear of the car as well to boot. The UK&I driver able to continue, but now he's down in 9th place after that incident.
And that incident there with Howard almost took out Carlos Fonseca as he was coming through. Howard got back on the track and Fonseca just barely squeezed the gap there.
Looks like we found the replay. Unfortunately for Howard, I'm sure he wouldn't like this shown. Number 34 tries to get the power down, maybe a little too hard, and then the curb finished him off. Ooh, who was that sneaking by? I think that was Fonseca getting through. Let's see the Hoosiers' point of view.
Fonseca definitely catching a break there. Don't think he expected to come around that corner and have a car sitting sideways there on the track.
We saw it happening from what we saw there on his onboard, but Didn't expect it to bounce back as far as that car did. Howard has since taken it into the pits to get some repairs done. So right now your leader in the GTP class is Teemu Toika, as we just crossed the halfway mark, but he has yet to take his stop. He should re-inherit the lead once he does take his pit stop. Riley Thompson, however, is in a bit of the reverse situation. He's leading, has not taken his stop, and we expect will hand it over to the likes of Terho once he comes in. Mukanos and Malia have entered their pit stalls. Wait, was that a damaged car that Thompson just went by?
That was Ryan Lang. Some heavy, heavy damage in the back end. Oh, he just came up through Eau Rouge and really binned it.
Watch him on board. This has got to be scary in these cars. Oh, the curb once again. Wow. Absolutely whomped the tire barrier. Let's watch from off board the Illinois driver. You can see how much that car bounced as soon as he clipped the curb.
Yeah, heavy, heavy impact there as he backed it into the tire barrier there. And it's a good thing he didn't come back out on the track because, like you said, that car really bounced off of those tires going through there so quickly.
Meanwhile, is this a change for position? Yoni Hagner, Reed Miller. Yoni's got his pit stop done. Reed does not. And I don't think he fought him too hard down through Rivage. Indeed, he let him have the inside line and let him go. A couple more of our GTP class taking stops. Radar Anderson, Fabian Jungbluth also in. And out, at least for Jungbluth. Anderson still stationary. They are down and gone. Yamaki still our highest pitter in that class. Fonseca going to come in.
You know, I'm really curious to see when Riley Thompson decides to come in. He stays out this lap as well, our GTO leader right now, but we've been talking about him all season long. When will the win come? You know, will it be this week? Will it be next week? And he's not going to win if he stays out and does the same strategy as the leader. So props to him for trying something new here late in the season, just still looking for that first win. It might pan out working for him.
I'm hoping so. I mean, I know we're supposed to stay impartial, but sometimes you just want an underdog to come through, and it's been a while for poor Riley. We'll see what this alternate strategy can net him. I'm not hopeful, though, if I'm honest, because boy, Hagner was a long ways ahead. So was Terho. Should only, I believe, get maybe about 10 more minutes on that fuel tank. And then Thompson should have to pit.
I believe it was Thompson who, at the other 60-minute race this year at Detroit, that was a race that we thought many people would have to make pit stops at, and some people ended up outlasting that entire race. Thompson was one of those who was in a great position that day, but he made the mistake of coming into the pits and cost him a potential win that day. So definitely trying to rebound from that fuel strategy race to this one.
Adam Lindgren in a little bit of a fight. He's got anti-Terho. It's never comforting when you see a Finn with a black stripe on his bumper coming up behind you. And again, Lindgren has not pit. Terho has. But unlike what we saw before with Hagner, looks like Lindgren isn't interested in handing it over so easily. He does not back off. He stays to the racing line. Denies Terho the opportunity through Rivage and No Name. Right on board with Anti.
Terho looking for a way around. Remember, Terho still has that front end damage. It might be hurting him just a very little bit through these turns as they have a Nissan coming through. That is Willy Rolla.
Yeah, really, and poor Rolla. He's in second place, but he got boxed in. There's an opportunity from Anti. And Lindgren once again says no. Now he's going to let him by.
Terho is going to slide there. He had to get on the brakes really hard before tires were really hot going through there and just not much grip as he went through there. Drifted it around Lindgren as he let him by.
There's that finish flick. Teammate to Lindgren, Riley Thompson, comes in, takes his scheduled stop, finally hands over the lead, but not to Hagner. It's Lori Montevada who stays out one more lap. Now Hagner goes by. Oh, but Hagner's way wide. Hagner is, boy, he's in another town. He completely missed the apex there.
Yeah, that was hard driving by Hagner. Just a little bit of a miscalculation, I think. He's been a couple of weeks since he's showed up in this series, so might just be a little bit of rusty there.
Maybe missed a gear there from what we're listening on board. I'm sure he's incredibly thankful that there's paved runoff on the outside of that corner. Oh, did Thompson jump Terho?
Oh, boy.
How did this happen? Not by much. It's about 2 seconds between them. Maybe, is that maybe the time that Terho got caught up behind Lindgren?
It's possible. I didn't think that would cost him that much.
I didn't either.
Terho thought, I mean, I thought it would cost him a little bit, but still be able to keep the lead. But Thompson looks like just a perfect pit stop. And this strategy might play out for him a little bit better than we had anticipated.
Well, this could move Thompson up into second position, but once again, a bridesmaid if he's able to hold on to it. All depends on what kind of pace he can keep compared to Terho. He's got to do it for another 22 minutes as Terho nearly gets taken out. Is that Albrecht coming through?
That's War Cup.
Oh my goodness. You're never safe in the Kamel GT series. Danger always lurks around every corner.
Poor Stephen Warkup. We've seen him in a couple of awful situations today.
But he's on the podium, although that is before his pit stop. He gets himself by Riley Thompson as well. Still waiting on Warkup, Rolla, and Toika. Yamaki is our highest pitter in the GTPs. He sits in fourth. Should be able to re-inherit second, although he might be in a close fight with Rolla when that is said and done. This is our leader on screen. That's the Bushfink driver who has been affectionately named by the fans Fat Timu.
In that last lap, I was watching back to the Audis, Riley Thompson. I think he easily picked up 2 or 3 off tracks there. He is pushing this car really hard. He sees Terho in his mirror as Terho gets around La Source and now slides just a little bit, but Thompson driving the living daylights out of that Audi right now.
That's what we like to see, these drivers not settling on their laurels, trying and giving it all. So he comes over Radillion and up the Kamel straight. He's still holding at a 2-second gap back to Terho ever since he came out of the pit stall. There you can see both of them on screen. Almost makes me wonder if Lindgren was a bit intentional about not necessarily pulling over so quickly with him being teammates with Riley. So when are we going to see the last of the drivers pit? We're waiting on Montevada, Miller, Lindgren, and Rafa in the GTOs. Meanwhile, this is a battle for position on screen. This is Keith and Gerber. Gerber trying to come back from his spin. When he made contact with Iamaki, they put another lap on Florian Nidell.
Gerber looking for the line here, like he said, trying to recover from that earlier spin that he had about 13 minutes into the race and trying to get around John Keefe, who we've also seen in a little bit of issues today. He's going to slide right in front of Gerber. Wow.
Inches to spare between them. Let's watch the replay on that. Great heads up by Fabian. He saw it coming and picked just the right side. That was a slow spin.
Very slow spin, just a little bobble out to the left too, and Gerber with the really heads-up move like you said there, just a little flick of the wrist to the left and just enough to get around him.
The Belgian foliage not wanting to work with our helicopter today, unfortunately. as our view just at the wrong time gets blocked. But the Hoosier gets the car going once again. He lost out to Anderson as well. It is now back in 8th where he started again. So every time he gains positions, it seems like something happens to poor John. And he throws it away once again. So Gerber now up to 6th. Next on his list is going to be Jungbluth. Not too far ahead, we should say, so that is doable. When Hagner's overtaken Montivara, that was for the lead. So despite Laurie not having taken his stop yet, Yoni's going to do it the hard way. Takes it back up to the top spot. And incredibly, about 14 seconds ahead of Riley Thompson right now is Yoni Hagner.
He has indeed, and Montivara trying a little bit of a desperation strategy, I think, right now. He started 10th in the Audi class alone, so a little bit further back through the field. Props to him for trying something new here.
Not sure that we'll see anybody go all the way to the distance, or at least I wouldn't think so, because Detroit was very stop-start. There's a lot of flat out on this circuit.
And for as slow as Detroit was, it was cutting it close for a couple of drivers as well. So I think definitely you're going to have to come into the pits here at Spa.
Intense battle. This is Neidhart and Olenek for P6. Olenik's got a nose inside down to the Puhan. He's also got his teammate behind. Mukanos giving watch. They're going to go side by side through the double apexer down to the bottom of the hill, but the momentum goes in favor of Olenek. His teammate gets a little bit of an opportunity. Cuts off Neidhart at the apex for Fanyes, and Mukanos has to stay behind as well.
That was a huge power move for Olenek to cut off Neidhart like that. He really went right in front of him. I didn't think he was clear at all, but he was indeed in a battle behind as well. Jungbluth there with Gerber and Anderson.
Indeed, a slew of blue and white machinery being led by Fabian Jungbluth. They have to weave their way back and forth through the GTO class. Somehow they all get through nice and smoothly. Here comes the likes of Gerber, hard on the brakes, down to the inside as they almost make contact. He loses the grip, and he gives away a position instead of taking one. That goes to Anderson, who's looking for 2 for 1. He's got the inside, down to La Source. Fabian Jungbluth not able to block him off. Apex going to Anderson, and that allows him to slip into P5.
Gerber and Jungbluth dealing with each other, and they did not have Radar Anderson on their radar today, as he came out of nowhere there to take those spots.
That's not over yet. Look at this, a great run onto the Kimmel Straight. Jungbluth going to try to come back at him. No defensive move from Anderson. Stays to the outside. Good on the brakes for Fabian Jungbluth. He gets it back after just one corner behind. Don't forget, Fabian Gerber still hungry to recover from his earlier problems. Meanwhile, that battle that we were watching before, Olenek, Neidhart, Mukanos, still fiercely at it. Neidhart trying to take it back from Olenek down into Ravage. Looks around the outside. He's denied with a defensive move from Rob. And they're going to stay in order. Rob in 5th, Neidhart in 6th, and Mukanos 7th.
We've seen Olenek the last couple of laps really be defensive over Neidhart, and Mukanos, I'm sure, would love to, for the sake of their teamwork, get around Neidhart as well and trap him back there.
Riding on board Mukanos. Seeing if he can maybe take a dive down into Fanyes, but he's not quite close enough.
Remember, we're wondering if Neidhart short-fueled as well. That's going to be an interesting factor to throw into this battle as well.
Oh, and who is that we just saw?
Alan McCain, another single car incident for him today. But right now, Olenek pulling away from this battle just a little bit. Neidhart did not have a great lap that time. And he is still under pretty significant pressure from Mukanos behind him as they go through the chicane. A little bobble out of Neidhart. He's going to get back with it, though. And just nothing that Mukanos can do back there for that position.
Neidhart, the only one of these three that had sub 20 seconds in his pit stall. Did he put enough fuel in? They've now overtaken Lori Montevada, who's finally taken his stop. And that's going to bump them up. Olenik's now in 4th, Neidhart 5th, and Mukanos 6th.
And I just mentioned not a great lap previously for Neidhart. I wonder if there is any fuel conservation going on with Neidhart right now. Might be why he's backing off a little bit in those later parts of the track. Or if he's just, right now, it does not look like there's any fuel conservation. As he sits in the draft, it's getting really close here. He almost made it 3 wide there with the Nissan.
That was Clayton McLeod. Still attempts around the outside, maybe an over-under to try to carry the speed deep for Rob Olenek. Almost goes off the track behind them. Don't forget, that's Martin Krejcik trying to peek his way through. He's going to get one of them down into Ravage, but not two. Stays patiently sandwiched between the Audis. Not much of a run, down to No Name.
That was close there indeed. Neidhart did not want to give Krejcik any room. Neidhart wanted to stay right with Olenek there through there. But now they're going to get gapped. And in the back of Olenek goes Krejcik.
Spins himself around. He gets the worst out of all 4 of those cars. Martin Krejcik both with damage and lost time. Hopefully he didn't damage the back of Olenek here. Let's see. I didn't see any, but certainly gave himself a little bit.
That definitely is going to help Olenek a little bit, I think, because Neidhart and Mukanos checked up heavily for that. And there's quite the gap in between them now.
You can see Krejcik able to get the car going. Oh, and is Workup... Oh, no, Workup just took his first stop. And he comes back out in 4th. Oh, but look at this. This is for position. That's Anderson right behind him. Oh, and is this our leader in the GTOs that they're trying to go by? Yes, indeed it was. That slows up the likes of Workup. So up to the outside, here comes Anderson. A battle behind them as well for position. Gerber manages to overtake Jungbluth, and Anderson manages to overtake Workup at the same time.
Man.
And that's going to bring all 4 of them together, all in a fight for P4. I can report that our leader, Teemu Toika, finally takes his stop. So where is this going to put Iamaki? Is Iamaki closed enough during these pit stop cycles?
Right now, Iamaki weaving his way towards the chicane. He is further back than I anticipated, but I'll be interested to see where he comes out.
Toika's still stationary. We're looking at anywhere between 15 and 18 seconds stops. Ooh, his was a very short one. Toika, 12 seconds in his pit stall. Where's Iamaki? Iamaki is not even close. I think if that had been a normal stop, though, Ardo might have been with him. Let's see what the gap is going to look like here. Maybe not. It's still, I'm seeing about 9 seconds. Well, we saw Toika riding behind the likes of Iamaki and Gerber for much of the early laps. I mean, is that enough to save 5 seconds of fuel?
Apparently so. I mean, he's going to try it. We're going to find out.
We hope so. We hope he can get to the finish here. 10 minutes to go, and he's got to have a light right foot to try to find the checkered flag. So your leader, now that the pit stops have finished here in the GTPs, Teemu Toika up at the front with the shortest stop we've seen in the entire field of the prototypes. Ardo Iamaki is denied a chance at potentially try to take the lead from him out of those pit stops. He sits in 2nd place. He fought very hard with Gerber earlier on. Villi Rola, because of that fighting, managed to inherit P3, but he's a whole 25 seconds back. Even still, he's well clear of the car behind him. That is Radar Anderson. What a run this guy has had from 9th to 4th place in car number 17. That's going to be an iRating gain. And the top 5 routed out by Stephen Warkup, sitting back there in 5th for the GTPs. What about the GTOs?
Right now, Yoni Hagner up at the front of this field, and he's dominated today right from the start. We knew he would be good. He was back in this series, and he's looking good right now in the lead. Right behind him, it is Riley Thompson, who we were wondering, is this going to be his first win of the season? Well, it doesn't look like it is, but he was back in 3rd or 4th earlier. Took a little bit of a risky pit strategy, and it might play out in his favor to jump him up to 2nd, but still, I'm sure he doesn't want to be the bridesmaid anymore. He wants to get that top step of the podium. He wants to get the checkered flag first. He's not going to do it today if he continues to ride back here in 2nd. Behind him is the black stripe, Antti Terho, who fought hard for a 3rd place last week at VIR. He fights hard for a 3rd place this week at Spa. He sits in 3rd, right in front of Rob Olenek and Dennis Neidhart, who right now, after quite the battle, are in 4th and 5th.
Just had a change for position. Gerber managed to get by Jungbluth, who get himself into P6. And I'm not sure that he's too far away from Stephen Warkup. That is not off the cards. Let's watch the replay. Just got himself a good run. A little bit of traffic helped out. 26 Audi causing a checkup for Jungbluth. Good braking down into... they almost come together again in the bus stop, but they both come out the other side.
And that rundown of the Audis I just did, there might be a little asterisk next to Dennis Neidhart in 5th place because he's under heavy pressure right now from Nicholas Mukanos behind him.
And also a much shorter pit stop, we mentioned earlier.
Yeah.
So we're not even sure if he can get to the finish. So not going to be an attempt from Mukanos on Neidhart into the bus stop. That was Ryan Lang that we saw at the side. Don't need a replay there. That was a single car incident, just a bit of turbo lag sending them into the barriers.
See what kind of run Mukanos can get here as they go up through Eau Rouge.
This is where these cars give off a huge hole in the air, but boy, Mukanos seeing to struggle a little bit for grip through that famous corner, and that's not going to bring him in close enough. You can see how much distance stretches between himself and Neidhart down the Kimmel Straight. So for now, Neidhart remains within the top 5. Ooh, change for position behind them, though. John Malia and a driver we haven't talked about a whole lot this race, Ove Trangerade. Trangerade now down in 8th, Malia 7th in class.
John Malia, he was up battling earlier with Olenek, Neidhart, Mukanos earlier in the race and just kind of fell out of that battle, didn't have the pace to keep up with them. And now we see him being very strong around Ove Trangerade. But John Malia, the solid performance today from the number 4 car out of New York.
Only 6 minutes left to go on the clock. Time is running out. If you want to make a pass, gonna have to do it soon. To watch the likes of Neidhart and Mukanos. This is our closest fight on track, other than some of the GTPs. Actually, we've got to change for position in GTPs. This is Jungbluth being overtaken by John Keefe. Oh, tries to come back at him. Jungbluth takes a look to the inside, but nothing doing there. So, can John Keefe actually stay out of P8? He's up to 7th for now.
That
Neidhart
seems to have been his curse so far today. He's being stuck in P8, and it'll be interesting to see if he can stay up here.
Neidhart trying to hold back the lights of Mukanos, along with they've got the car of Ryan Lang trying to squeak through. Is this going to give an opportunity? Slow off the corner means that Nick Mukanos can't get the power down as soon as he would like. But Lang might get in the way of Neidhart coming through Lasource. Not quite. A beautiful over-under, and in fact, he's going to out-accelerate him very easy. Lang comes back through now that the extra power underneath the Nissan gives him back the spot, but look at the gap that has put between Mukanos and Neidhart. for that 5th place.
Might be a little bit late race drama here in the prototype division. The gap with the leaders is falling. Now, that is a big gap, but it is falling indeed. Toika holding off Iamaki right now. It is down to 6.5 seconds.
I repeat, if you're just joining us, 12 seconds in his pit stall for Toika, 17 for Iamaki. Toika is the one leading. Iamaki is the one chasing. Is that gap coming down due to fuel saving?
I definitely think it might be. Toika might be glancing at his fuel calculator every lap, and his right foot might be getting lighter and lighter indeed.
Well, the good news for Toika is that he's managed to increase the gap slightly. Iamaki has gone from 6 seconds back to 7.5. I think that was helped a little bit by traffic. Indeed, you can see Toika going by some battles here. Not just Neidhart and Mukanos, but that's Howard and Koivisto fighting for 11th.
I don't think they're done fighting. That was quite the push from Howard there.
Yeah, Howard really wants to bump himself up. He gets a run off the corner, but he takes completely off the track to try and make it work. And unfortunately, there's no grip on the AstroTurf.
Doing absolutely everything he can here, and Koivisto's got to be looking in his mirror, having no clue what to expect from Howard right now. They go into the chicane. Howard takes the left side. Lanes is gonna switch back into his favor. He's gonna get close and he's gonna clip Koivisto. He keeps it straight though, but Howard's gonna have the position.
That's gonna move Howard into 11th. Koivisto demoted to 12th with a little bit of elbows out from Chris. And now we're down to 2.5 minutes left to go. Our leader just crossed the line, so next time by will be white flag. In that battle between Neidhart and Mukanos, because that one always keeps bringing us back, and it's still Neidhart ahead. They're up and over Radillion, a little bit wide for both of them. What can Mukanos do? Not a lot from here, as he's still finding himself struggling to get the power down.
He's got the perfect gap to him right now, Mukanos does, because if you can get up out of Radillion with that gap and get a big run on him, that might be the perfect gap to time that pass perfectly. The problem is that he's just not able to do that. He's not able to get the power down for whatever reason right now, and Neidhart able to hold that position.
You know, Mukanos is probably getting a little bit more antsy, a little bit more eager to try to get up with his teammate, because Olenik's been slipping away a little bit. Not huge gaps, mind you. It's about a second between himself and Neidhart. Oh, he's got a fantastic run. He's right underneath him, coming down to Puhan. Is he going to defend? No, he's not. How much bravery is there for Mukanos? Deep on the brakes for Neidhart. That's going to deny the opportunity through the second apex. Switchback maybe as they come up to Stavilo. Not quite for Mukanos. Just can't find anything that'll work.
This is a great run right now from Mukanos, though. I think if he keeps at it, he's going to chip away at this and get it. He's to the inside. Can't quite. The crossover to the left. I think he's got his nose in there. No, he doesn't. Still, Neidhart holds the position.
Wasn't willing to risk the car, as I think they're going to get one more lap. Down to the bus stop, poking his nose to the apex a little bit. White flag starting to wave in this battle for P5. Don't worry, we'll take you over to the leader when it gets to be time. I'm keeping an eye on each. Neidhart once again looking to apply the power nice and smooth for that four-wheel drive. Coming down the hill towards Eau Rouge is exactly where Mukanos wants to be strong, to be able to tuck right underneath the rear spoiler of Dennis Neidhart, but yet again, he just doesn't have the oomph.
Yeah, there's got to be something in their setups there, or something that's just allowing Neidhart to cruise away on the Kamel stretch, because there should really be no reason that Mukanos doesn't get on the power sooner. We saw how strong he was through the second and third sectors of this track. He just can't do it there out of Verdillion onto the Kamel stretch.
Back up to our leader. Fat Timu has been stealing wins from Artu Iamaki, and it looks like he's going to do it again. Number 5, a whole 5.5 seconds back from our leader. Artu definitely was looking at a potential victory, but tangling with his rival Fabian Gerber has cost him dearly here today. He probably could have romped away with it if he had not come together with him. Through Blanchimont now, only left to go through the bus stop chicane. Timu Toika in round 10 here at Spa-Francorchamps is going to take the victory. If I'm correct, I believe that's his 3rd of the season.
It is indeed.
We got a full lap of Joni Hagner because he finished right directly ahead of him. I believe we missed. Did we miss the pass between Mukanos and Neidhart?
It was not a successful pass. There was an incident involving them both. Mukanos got to the left side of him, and Neidhart was not letting him by. They both went into the tire barrier, and Neidhart was able to cruise away after that.
Watching the replay now.
This is a peculiar incident here.
Oh, he tried to come back to the racing line and thought he was clear. Almost backed into him. Let's watch from Mukanos' view.
Neidhart was just pushing hard there, not going to give him any room there at all. And he definitely didn't, especially when they were backing up as well.
Well, this is our leader over in the GTO class. The Glacier TV racing driver had the pole position. He ran away at the drop of the green. And then really, other than Terho maybe being somewhat close to him for a couple laps, he was unfazed, and he's going to put a little bit of style on his final lap. A little bit of chatter post-race between Mukanos and Neidhart. Mukanos sounding not too upset, but maybe a little irritated about the incident.
Long race, and a long, hard race. Definitely can't blame Mukanos for being a little upset after that one. All of these drivers working so hard for every position, and that was just the battle for P5.
Absolutely. They don't care what position it's for. They want to try and get as many as possible. Especially this man, Joni Hagner, in the number 2 Audi GTO, takes the victory in the Audi class here today at Spa. That's going to take us to break here on the Global Sim Racing channel. We'll come back with the official results as well as driver interviews. Stick around, though, because we've got all the upcoming races here on GSRC shown on your screen. Welcome back to Spa-Francorchamps. We watched a very, very good endurance race here in the Kamel GT series. And in the end, it was Teemu Toika who took away the win from 4th on the grid. A little bit of luck helped him out, but you have to say that he dealt with his situation perfectly. Arto Iamaki got a little bit too fierce maybe in the battling with Fabian Gerber. He still manages to come back to 2nd, but could have potentially had the win. Billy Rolla finds himself going from 3rd to 3rd, but it was a bit of swapping back and forth before he wound up there. Radar Andresen gets P4 starting from 9th. A nice climb. Fabian Gerber, who started it on the pole, is all the way down in 5th. Seems to have come out the worst with his incident with Arto. Stephen Warcup as well, gaining quite a bit, going from 10th to P6. John Keefe, he does finish in 7th in the end, even though he kept finding himself back in 8th where he started. Could have been a little bit more for John as well. Fabian Jungbluth gets 8th with Clayton McLeod coming home 9th. Carlos Fonseca had some issues, but still manages to come home in 10th. Hideki Koivisto, first car a lap down, finishes P11. Then it's Chris Howard behind him in 12th with Martin Krejcik in 13th. Brian Lang comes home 14th. We had a number of DNFs in the GTP class. Alan McCain, Aitor Sintes Gayindo, Justin Albrecht, Tony Hayes, Tobias Gerber, Caden Bean, and Lucas Silva. Let's go to the Audis.
Like you mentioned, Teemu Toika coming home with the win in the Nissans. Now he adds to his resume of wins this year at Summit Point in Bathurst. And another driver that won at Summit Point in Bathurst, as well as Silverstone and Motegi, was Joni Hagner. He's also going to pick up the win today in the Audis, followed by Riley Thompson. Again, the bridesmaid here today at Spa. He finishes 2nd, though, after a solid pit road strategy, followed by Antti Terho, his 2nd straight podium finish here in the Kamel GT series. 4th and 5th place are going to go to Rob Olenek and Dennis Neidhart. And how about Neidhart stretching the fuel out to the end of the race? The hard battle he had over Nick Mukanos, who's going to come home in 6th. John Malley, I haven't seen too much of him this year, but he's going to come home 7th in the Audis this week after a solid performance and a tough battle he had there at the end of the race over Ove Trengrade, who finishes the 12 car behind him. Reed Miller, Franco Scurry will round out the top 10 in that class. Adam Lindgren, Lori Mantivara, who we also saw on an alternate pit strategy, will follow 25th and 26th overall. Sergey Serbin, J.W. Miller, Fabrizio Raffa, Corey Fonseca, Michael Haynes, Florian Neidl, and then the other DNF will be Juan Lopez in the 36.
We've got our winner in the prototypes ready to talk to us, Teemu Toika, who had a front row seat to the show. Teemu, talk to us a little bit about the battle that was happening in front of you in the early laps between Gerber and Arto Iamaki. We pretty much assumed that you were intentionally just kind of hanging back, waiting to see how this would play out.
Yeah, that was my plan all along. I saw that the battle was getting spicy in the opening laps, and I decided to hold back and see what would happen. And yeah, some interesting things happened, and I somehow made it through that absolute mayhem. And yeah, I've been having a bit of a fever this week, so I've been feeling a bit under the weather.
Well, that makes that win all the more impressive. Did you get any damage from the touch from behind? It looked like Albrecht maybe bumped into you as you tried to navigate your way around the spinning cars.
Yeah, I had some optionals in the pit lane, so but only for like 5 seconds. It didn't really affect my speed at all, so I was kind of lucky also.
Now, speaking of that pit stop, we noticed that yours was much, much shorter than a lot of the drivers around you. Iamaki, Rolla, Andresen, Gerber, all of them pretty much stationary, much longer. Did you manage to save fuel, or how did you get such a short pit stop?
I suspect that the others took tires and I didn't. I'm not actually sure if everyone took tires except me, but at least I didn't take tires, and I didn't intentionally save fuel, so I can't really comment on.
Interesting. So we didn't even think about whether or not tires factored into that. Well, congratulations on another win this season. It seems like you and Arto are taking the lion's share of those.
Yeah, thank you. And me and Arto had a good battle in the beginning laps, but yeah, just bad luck for him, and I good luck.
Absolutely. That was Teemu Toika, our winner in the GTPs. We also have our winner ready to talk to Nick Joni Hagner, who had a bit of a different story on his side over in the Audis.
Just a little bit, and Yoni Hagner's a guy we've talked to just a couple times this year. I think after a Kamel GT race. And Yoni, we missed you last week at VIR, but you're coming off your win at Bathurst 2 weeks ago to repeat here at Spa. How did you keep up such a dominant pace all day?
Well, this week I got actually time to practice, so like 4 hours of practice time. So it's yeah.
Lots of dedication indeed into the series. Your pit strategy, I mean, it wasn't too far off of anyone else's that finished up there. You had a little bit of an alternate strategy coming from Riley, and you had Terho behind him as well. What was the plan going in there as far as the pit stop went? We just talked to Teemu Toika, who said tires were an issue. Did tires play a big role today, or was it just fuel?
In Audi is faster to take tires than the fuel needed to run 1 hour. So, because my car is a bit better on the heavy fuel load, so I try to avoid the slowest Nissans with my strategy.
And you had traffic to deal with as well, and you seem to have very few issues. It looked like with traffic today, everyone was cursing the drivers behind you. You looked like you got out of the traffic pretty easily. Was that a handful today at Spa? Really single groove track kind of to deal with all that traffic with the Nissans?
Actually, it's a really good multi-class track with these cars because Nissan is much faster in the corners, and here is a lot of fast corners, so they are easy to let pass and be passed.
All right. Well, that's Yoni Hagner picking up his 5th win today. Should we expect to see you next week at Barber, I believe we're at?
Maybe. I don't know yet.
All right. It's going to be a good race indeed, but that's Yoni Hagner there, your winner in the Audi GTO class today. His 5th win of the season, continuing his dominant run. Joe, I believe you have caught up to another Audi driver.
Yes, one still looking for his first win this season, unfortunately, but still a well-earned second place. Before we get to that, let's talk about the pit stops, Riley. Were you surprised that you jumped anti-Terho? Because we did not expect that at all.
Yeah, honestly, with how far apart we pitted, I was just running my own laps and didn't even realize. I forgot that we were even that close, and I thought, if anything, he would end up jumping me.
Now, it's been a bit of an odd season for you. Usually you snag a win here or there. We've just finished round 10. You're still yet to get that first win. What do you mainly attribute it to? Is it just been a chaotic season? Has the talent level gone up? What's the deal?
I think in general, it's just a mix. There's a bunch of fast guys that are running the season, and every once in a while, some more show up. So, and then honestly, I don't even mind. I'm being consistent, I feel like, and it seems to work out.
Yeah, your consistency is astonishing this season. Next round is going to be a bit of a unique track. Doesn't show up on as many schedules. Barber Motorsports Park. How do you fare your chances there?
Honestly, I think it should be pretty good. Love the track, love the flow of it. So I think it should be a good race again.
All right. Well, we hope to see you in a week's time. And again, congratulations on another podium.
Thank you.
Was Riley Thompson. One last interview. We've got another Audi driver, Adam Lindgren, ready to talk to Nick.
Yes, Adam Lindgren coming home P11 today in the Audis. Not the day you probably wanted to have there, trying to break into the top 10. And we were talking to a couple of the drivers that finished further up that didn't have to deal with traffic too much, but the traffic seemed to be hitting hard back in the mid-pack where you were. How was that today?
Yeah, traffic was pretty brutal. Some of the GTPs, they'd take the inside at corners where we're already on the edge, and so you just end up running wide and picking up a lot of X's. But, you know, it wasn't all that bad, and most of the time they were respectful even when making those passes. They didn't stick it in where they didn't want to. But yeah, it wasn't, the traffic was not the end of the world, but it definitely hampered speed a lot.
Definitely did. Made for some very interesting moments of the race for sure, and some of the tighter portions of the track. But finishing back there in the mid pack in Audis was not only did we have traffic today, it was also a 60-minute race. Was the fuel strategy and the pit strategy a big concern for you today?
Not really. After the first couple laps, I realized I had a 5-second gap ahead of me, and I thought to myself, well, if I don't catch anybody that's slowing me up, I'm going to go full distance on the fuel. And that's what I did, and I actually ended up jumping Franco Scurry in the pits, but then I had an off track later that let him by me. So the going long on the fuel strategy definitely worked out for me, so I'm actually proud of that.
You should be indeed. It was a hard-fought race back there, and you're still looking for your first podium of the year. Do you think next week at Barber, is that going to present an opportunity for you, or is that a track you don't care too much for? It's a little bit unusual for the Kamel GT series to go there, but how are you feeling going down there to Alabama next week?
Well, I have 3 categories of tracks in my head. I have ones that I'm fast at, ones that I need to keep pace at, and ones I need to survive at. And Barber is a survival track for me.
It is going to be interesting to say the least. You had a great run today. Hopefully you can survive next week like you did today as we see you down there in Birmingham.
Thank you.
All right, that is Adam Lindgren there, finishing P11 today in the Audis. Joe?
Yeah, and although I agree with him that it's probably going to be a survival track, I have to admit Barber is one of my favorites, not just to race on, but also to call races for because of the chaos that it tends to throw up. Before we get there, we've got to close up today, though, and we want to thank a few people, starting off with the iRacing Esports Network. Of course, thanks to them for bringing us on for the season and giving you all this awesome action on the official iRacing Sports channel. Of course, we encourage you to subscribe. All you got to do is click that big red button in the corner that says subscribe, and you can get this in your feed, as well as many other series every day of the week. We also want to thank Inspector Ride once again. If you want to check them out, they have a free trial download, and that is at inspectorride.com/iRacing. So go give them a look, especially if you do any sort of car inspection that's with large amounts or small amounts, doesn't matter. It is incredibly useful to help simplify your life. Big thank you goes out to the companies that provide the software and hardware for our broadcast. You can see them listed here on your screen. And additional thanks go out to Eric Ekholm and June Lalonde, who provide our wonderful music. See the screen for how to get a hold of more of their great work. Thanks to the team today, Nick, Amjed, and Dougie. If they'd like to find out more about GSRC, including upcoming races, you can find it at globalsimracingchannel.com. You can also check us out on social media. We're on Twitter at GSR Channel, Facebook at Global Sim Racing Channel, and Instagram at GSRC_Graham. If you head on over to GSRC's YouTube page, we also have a subscribe button that we would love to see you hit so that you don't miss a moment on our channel. The next race, as we mentioned, we're going to Alabama. That'll be at Barber Motorsports Park, Saturday, February 23rd at noon Eastern. We have upcoming races for other series listed on the screen, so check those out and mark them down on your calendar. But until next time, race clean, race hard. We'll see you on the track.